The 2016 NBA regular season was awesome and one to remember. We witnessed the 96 Bulls regular season streak being broken. We had former MVPs returning to the game and dominating. We had the first unanimous MVP awarded to Steph. And of course, who could forget the legend Black Mamba retiring on 60 points. But unfortunately, we're not going to be looking through the positive side of the league, because today we're going to run through 3 most disappointing teams of the 2016 season. Before I get started, I'm going to go through the honorable mentions. First of all, the New Orleans Pelicans. I can't simply put them on the list due to the fact that the roster spent more time in hospital beds than they did on the court.
Fatality.
And I felt like it wasn't fair because they seemed to never have their roster at 100%. Also, a lot of people were talking about the Sacramento Kings being a disappointing team. To that, I say, what? Let's be honest, the Kings organization is a disaster, from the coaching to the owner to the weird mix of players that they have. It was a recipe for disaster, and their season played out exactly as I thought it would. But of course, that's just my opinion. I would love to know what y'all think of these two teams. Starting it off on my fabulous list, we have the Washington Wizards coming in at number 3. Despite a trip to the Eastern Conference semifinals last year, the Washington Wizards was looking to rebuild on last season, make another extended playoff run, and wait for Kevin Durant to sign on the dotted line. The Wizards pretty much gambled, bringing in a whole bunch of veterans on short deals to preserve cap room for Durant and to eventually extend Bradley Beal. But the gamble, as you guessed, backfired. In my opinion, one of the reasons they struggle so much is because they let the truth Paul Pierce walk. Now hear me out before you exit the video. Paul Pierce was the third scoring option last season and a leader in the locker room. They just simply don't have enough offense other than Wall and Beal, and Gortat is starting to go out of his prime, and not to mention he kind of looks like a vampire. And Otto Porter simply wasn't consistent enough, but I wouldn't give up on him. He's very young and has a lot of potential, even though sometimes he does a lot of weird shit. At the same time, I'm not gonna lie, most of the teams I mentioned in this video, they have a lot of troubles with injuries. In this case, it was Bradley Beal because he played a career low 55 games.
Nobody can stop me. It's plain and simple. I'm down.
But worse than his health issues, the Wizards front office now needs to make a decision whether or not to commit max money to him this summer. And don't you dare blame John Wall for the shitty season. He has played his heart out while battling injuries. He's not a perfect player, but he's making a damn good case that he's one of the best point guards in this league. Number 2, we have the Chicago Bulls. The most popular NBA team... Oh, wrong photo. The most popular NBA team struggled tremendously this season. After they fired Tom Thibodeau at the end of last season and hired Fred Hoiberg, they returned with a very deep and talented roster. When I say deep team, I do truly mean it. They had Jimmy Butler, Pau Gasol, Nikola Mirotic, Joakim Noah, which I understand was injured for most of the season, Mike Dunleavy, Derrick Rose, which I also understand isn't the same Derrick Rose, Dougie Buckets, Portis, and Taj Gibson. So when they ended up outside the playoffs, we were all scratching our heads wondering why we can't watch them lose to LeBron in a series again. Of course, there's a couple of key reasons why they couldn't squeeze into the playoffs. Number 1, Hoiberg was brought in to aid the Bulls' offense and completely hasn't done that. The Bulls are currently 25th in offensive rating from being 9th last year. To top it all off, the Bulls' defense hasn't improved either. In the previous 2 seasons, the Bulls finished with 2nd and 11th in defensive rating. This year, they're 13th. And the injury bug did affect this team, with Dunleavy and Joakim Noah out for a major portion of the season, along with Jimmy Butler missing a couple of games. And of course, it wouldn't be a Bulls season without Derrick Rose missing some time. But many still believe they still had enough talent to get over the hump and make the playoffs in a weak Eastern Conference. While doing some research on the Bulls, I found Joakim Noah has a sister, and she's smoking. Like, how are these two even related? Sorry about that, y'all. Got a little sidetracked. Back to the video. At the end of the day, all the fingers point back to the head coach Fred Hoiberg, because in the first time since 2008, it was painfully obvious that the players and coaches were not on the same page at various stretches during the season. While filming this video, the Bulls are falling apart. Paul Gasol has opted out of his contract and most likely won't be returning next season. Joakim Noah has come out and told his teammates he's definitely not returning next season. And of course, the Bulls are shopping Derrick Rose and Jimmy Butler as I speak. This organization has made it completely obvious that they're trying to blow up the team. But hey, who knows? Maybe it's for the best. And at number 1, you guessed it, the Houston Rockets. It's a real shame that we see MVP on my list. A Shaq in a full MVP, that is.
I'm the best all-around basketball player in the NBA.
What? Bro, what are you talking about?
This year's Houston Rockets season has been nothing short of a disappointment. Coming off their best season in nearly 20 plus years, the Rockets were expected to be an elite top 4 team in the Western Conference for the second straight season. Instead, the Rockets have been a very mediocre team that cannot seem to do anything right on a consistent basis. The Rockets season couldn't even start at worst. They fired head coach Kevin McHale just 11 games in the season. Not surprisingly, this news shocked the whole NBA, and when the owner of the Rockets asked why, he responded with, "We know this team could win, we believe in the players, but we aren't in a good place and there's no time in the Western Conference." But surprise, firing the coach didn't put this team back on track. The team's defensive rating fell from 8th overall last year to 21st this year. I can already predict the comments talking about James Harden's dreadful defense. And y'all are absolutely right. You can find plenty of YouTube videos on James Harden simply not giving a damn on the defensive end. But at the same time, does Harden deserve all the blame? No, absolutely not. Let's not put all the criticism on the beard. It does start with Harden and Howard, the two team stars, but unfortunately the chemistry for the whole team hasn't been there. It doesn't help that Ty Lawson was playing like he was drunk on the court the whole time, or that Corey Brewer looked like he was playing basketball for the very first time. Fast forward to the trade deadline, the Rockets already gave up and were already looking towards the future. They ended up trading Monte to the Pistons for a future first-round pick. It was actually a great deal for the Rockets. Monte didn't play much for the Rockets due to a back injury. But unfortunately, he ended up failing his physicals, so the team sent him back to Houston to finish off the season with a team that tried to get rid of him. Yeah, talk about awkward. At the end of the disappointing season, the Rockets were a mediocre 500 team, barely made the playoffs, only to get eliminated by the defending champs. And it's almost painfully obvious that Dwight is leaving after the season, so that leaves James Harden by himself with the great Mike D'Antoni. On my last note, in my opinion, James Harden needs to come out and publicly apologize to Little B so he can finally get back to his winning ways. I just want to say thank y'all so much for support on my first video. It got over 100,000 views with 2K thumbs up. If y'all enjoyed this one as well, don't be shy, subscribe and like. And I'm eager to know if y'all agree with the video. Until next time, peace.